this year, obviously with the ACC tournament later on in the season, but we'll be anxious to get back out on the court. You know, I think I talked about it. With having 3 games in the calendar week last week, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, we didn't have to take a day off because NCAA rules. But when you do that, you have to take 2 off, either the week before or the week after. So we gave the guys today and yesterday off, much needed. We hadn't had a day off since after Purdue, so they needed the rest. But they're anxious to get back out there and get to work tomorrow and get ready for a good Memphis team who seems to be playing better and better each time out. So I know they're coming off a very good one last night against a very, very good Albany team, So they seem to get better each time out. Like every other game, presenting a new set of challenges for us. So we got to be ready to go. But we're excited to kind of get out of town. New York City is obviously a great place around the holiday season, so we're looking forward to it.
When you say Memphis is getting better and better, what things are you seeing from them?
Well, you know, their roster was so new this year compared to last year. I think they only had 2 returning lettermen from last year. So when you have a lot of new pieces, it's going to take time to kind of gel and figure out ways to make it work. But you know, each game that they've played, they seem to be playing better and better. And you know, people might not think it when they look at it, but Albany is a very, very good team. I mean, very good team, and Memphis played very well last night in defeating them. So you know, all the Tubby's teams are always going to be very defensive-minded, tough physical teams, and this one's no different. So you know, it's going to be a tough test for us, but we're looking forward to it.
Are you familiar at all with that? What the rivalry used to be with Memphis?
A little bit, yeah. My first year was my redshirt year. Was the year we went to the Final Four, and that obviously was the infamous free throw game down there in Memphis for the Conference USA Finals. But you know, I obviously not as familiar with it as some of you guys, just because not having been around as much. But I know, and people used to always talk about that Louisville-Memphis rivalry used to be crazy. And you know, obviously when Coach Pitino and Coach Calipari was at Memphis, it was pretty heated back then as well. But you know, it goes way back. So you know, obviously a lot's changed since now and then. But you know, it's one of the more underrated rivalries, I think, in a long time.
Do you have? I mean, I know Tubby's been around some. Do you have much relationship with Tubby at all?
Not great. I mean, we obviously know each other. We've spoken a couple times. You know, he was at Kentucky. I believe my first couple of years here. I think my senior year was the first year he left. But you know, I've gotten to know him a little bit. Run into each other on the recruiting trail, and so on and so forth. But obviously, he's very, very well respected, very well liked in the profession, and seems to have done a very good job everywhere he's gone. Very good coach.
They seem to be very athletic as always, and like you said, they're young. They've got some different guys, but still the athleticism's there.
Yeah, it is, and I think that was a factor in them winning last night. I think, you know, they'll switch it up, they'll press, they'll play a little bit of zone, they'll be active on the backboard, they'll get out in transition. You know, transition defense is going to have to be a big key in this game for us. But you know, a very athletic team, tough, physical. You know, even though they're a new team in the sense of the word, you know, they're older. They've got, I think, 5 junior college guys, so they're not exactly freshmen per se because they're older and more physically developed. But it's typical Tubby team, you know, athletic, play hard, try to beat you up on the backboard, and play, you know, tough, hard-nosed defense.
Are you doing anything special with the players in New York, or?
No, we're going to go out to dinner tomorrow night. We'll practice here before we leave. We'll go out to dinner tomorrow night. You know, just practice Friday afternoon, obviously, when we get there. You know, we might try to swing by Rockefeller Center or something like that, because I haven't asked him yet. I'm not sure how many of them have actually been to New York before. You know, I know Quentin and Honest are the only 2, as far as I know. Well, I know that have played in a Louisville jersey in the Garden. I don't know if any of the other guys have actually played in the Garden. So it could be a new experience for a lot of them, I'm sure. You know, Malik probably hasn't been there. Darius and Lance probably haven't been there. Jordan probably's been there because he's from Buffalo. But you know, a lot of fresh faces for us in the Garden this year.
What do you think is the virtue to playing there, whether it be recruiting, exposure, anything? I mean, you guys play there fairly often. You
know, well, as a player and, you know, even now as a coach, it never gets old. I mean, it's Madison Square Garden. It doesn't matter who you're playing, when you're playing, anything. I mean, it's the most famous arena in the world. But you know, look, it's just a chance for us to play against a very, very good team, try to improve, and you know, on the world's quote unquote biggest stage. I mean, like I said, it's the most famous arena in the world. It's a TV game, obviously, so it presents a lot of benefits for our program. But you know, most importantly, we need to try to go up there and get a win.
When you think of that free throw game with Memphis a long time ago, what comes to mind?
You know, it was just a great game. Ending aside, I mean, it was just a great college basketball game. That was the 3rd time we played them that year, I believe. if I remember correctly, they beat us pretty good here. I think we won down there maybe at the buzzer. It was close, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that, but you know, it was a conference tournament championship game, but it was in their home court. You know, so it was obviously a great win for us. But that was just one of the more interesting endings to a game you'll ever see. I mean, you know, Francisco obviously fouling, and then you know them not making the free throws. But you know, it was a long time ago, but I actually do remember quite a bit about it, just how crazy it was. But I was just happy we came out on top.
Did you know they made a song out of it?
No, did they really?
Yeah, Fish, the band, made a song out of that game.
I did not know that. I know who that is, but I did not know that. I have to check that out.
You didn't play. You were redshirt.
I was redshirting. Yeah, I was at the game. I drove down myself, and
did you?
yeah, went to the game. So I just remember it was. I mean, it was a road game for a conference championship. I mean, we obviously had a pretty fair amount of fans there, but you know, you always want to try to be neutral, I guess, in conference championship games, and that wasn't exactly the case there. But
do you have any special? You played in the Garden, right? Yeah.
I have, yeah.
Any special memories of that, or?
You know, the most recent memory, obviously, is when we played Indiana there 3 years ago for the Jimmy V. You know, playing there. Actually, I do have a memory, and it's a pretty funny story. I don't know if this ever became public. I'm sure it did. Kenny knows where I'm going with this, but was it my senior year or my junior year? Will Scott,
Yeah.
New York kid, you know, grew up 20 blocks from the Garden. Dad was a longtime surgeon for the Knicks. Was sick. Was really sick. I think it was the game. It was probably when we lost to Pittsburgh, because it seemed like we lost to Pittsburgh every year there for about 4 years in a row. But he went in the game and he was bad on the flu or something. He kind of, you know, not to get too graphic, he actually vomited in his jersey on the court in Madison Square Garden, and we still laugh about it to this day. You know, because he was coughing and he didn't want to get it on the floor and stop the game, and he was lined up for a free throw, and he just put his jersey over his mouth like this. I mean, he will kill me when he finds out that I told this story. But Fred, our trainer, we joke about it and stuff. And I mean, the New York kid grew up probably living in the Garden because of his dad. And the first time he gets in there, one of the first times, I mean, that's what happens to him. But no, we still laugh about that to this day. So that's probably my, I wouldn't say my fondest memory, but definitely the one that sticks out the most.
What year would that have been?
It was either my junior year, 2007, or 2008, my senior year. It was one of those 2 years.
You know, Kenny, what?
I can't remember.
I think 8, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I know it may have been 7. It may have been 7. Yeah.
It might have been, I think it was maybe when we beat West Virginia, because we came back when Edgar Sosa went the length of the court and laid it in to tie the game. It could have been that game, but I can't remember. I'd have to go back and check.
Vince and Dr. Posto were in Atlanta today for the hearing on the appeal. When that is resolved, how does that impact your ability to recruit and the sales pitch that you make?
Well, I think I'll be better able to answer that once we know what the final decision is. You know, right now the biggest hurdle we have to clear from a recruiting standpoint is who's going to be the head coach moving forward after this season. So, you know, and obviously we don't know the answer to that, but you know, look, I think whenever that comes down, whenever they come back and say whatever they say, I think more than anything for you know, the program, I think it'll just be kind of closure, I guess, just kind of put it behind us, move on. But you know, there's so many question marks right now with the future of the program more than anything. Who's going to be the coach? You know, and until you know that, that's the biggest question mark from a recruiting standpoint you'll have to answer. And you know, unfortunately, we won't know for a while. But you know, it's again, like I've said, that's just not our focus right now. So.
To the alumni, the administration, all that, whether the banner stays or goes is important. Does it matter at all to high school kids who had no memory of that team?
Well, I mean, I wasn't a part of that team. I wasn't here at the time. But you know, the university, the city, the fans, everybody, you never want to see a banner get taken away. I mean, that just isn't good for anybody. So obviously we hope that we can keep the banner up. But again, it's a decision that is entirely out of our control. You know, we're just looking to move forward. But, you know, from a recruiting standpoint, there's so many things that could or could not impact a recruit. I mean, each situation is just so different. But, you know, like I said, the biggest thing is right now is who's going to be the head coach, you know, and it's just, we can't answer that, which everybody understands the situation. I mean, you know, when we talk to recruits and so on and so forth, they get it. I mean, but again, it's just about us selling the brand to try to lay the groundwork of what is Louisville basketball and what it will be moving forward.
Mm-hmm. With so much uncertainty, what do you sell? What do you tell kids?
Well, I mean, you know, I've said it before. regardless of who's here, Louisville's still going to be Louisville. You know, it's been a tradition-rich, storied program for 30, 40 years now. I mean, and our hope and my hope is that that doesn't change moving forward. I mean, we play in the most spectacular arena in the world. We have the best fan base in the world, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm biased, but that's what I believe. And it doesn't matter who's standing on the sidelines coaching the team, because at the end of the day, the name on the front of the jersey is still the name on the front. Now, granted that we've been going through a little bit of a tough time here for the last couple of years, but we're head down moving forward, and it's at the end of the day, 5, 10, 20 years from now, it's still going to be Louisville basketball.
How long can you claim that it's the most spectacular arena?
Well, until they build another one that's more spectacular, I'd be hard pressed. I've seen about every arena in the country there is, played in a lot of them, and I've never seen one as nice. And what reiterates it to me is Dino Gaudio did our game the other night against Bryant, and this was the first time he'd been here, and that's the first thing out of his mouth, the shoot around was, he goes, "Man, I was blown away by that place." I mean, we're extremely fortunate in that regard, because it really is the most spectacular place for fans and teams and everybody.
David, how much do you pay attention to the happenings within the NCAA case, as far as like the hearing today? Do you pay attention to any of that stuff?
No, because it doesn't affect us versus Memphis in 3 days. Until Vince said something the other day after the Ryan game that he was going, I just said, okay, good luck, I guess. I don't even know, what do you say? But I mean, it's, our focus right now is Memphis. Our focus Saturday at 2:30, 3 o'clock will be Albany, and just moving forward, so we're focused on basketball.
Getting back to the recruiting thing, of course, obviously kids want to know who they're going to play for. Most of the time, I think kids probably go to a school for the coach more than they go to school for the college itself, which is debatable. But so how can you put those fears or that uncertainty aside when you're talking to them?
Well, you can't. I mean, you can't just say, "Don't worry about who the coach is going to be.
Right.
We want you here." You can't say that. But again, it's a matter of us building and or maintaining relationships, just getting out, evaluating kids. Because depending on what moving forward, hypothetically speaking, what if all of a sudden I become the head coach? Well, you don't want to just start getting to scramble mode and say, "Oh well, now we got to start recruiting." You got to have a plan in place already, so the transition is a little bit more smooth. So you just have to proceed as if that's going to be the case, and whatever happens here down the road happens. But like I said, it's a unique situation. It's kind of it's just different. It's pretty unprecedented, but we just got to try to make the most of it.
David, when it comes to your current team, how do you evaluate their progress moving forward? Do you have goals in mind? Do you have different points in the season that you want them to look like as you start your own conference play?
I wouldn't say I've got timeline goals. We just want to continue to get better. I thought offensively, from a spacing, passing standpoint, our game the other night was the best job we've done overall. Getting in the lane, spacing, passing, doing those kinds of things. The way we've kind of broken it up here for last week and this week and then next week is, and I think I talked about it, is just those 2-game stretches. After the Seton Hall game, I said, okay, we've got basically 2 games here over the next 3 weeks before Christmas. Let's see if we can just take it 2 games at a time. Last week we went 2-0 with Siena and Indiana. We've gone 1-0 this week, and if we can get this one on Saturday, then we'll be 2-0. We just got to try to do the same thing next week. I just think, and I said at the beginning of the season, I told the players this, it would be unfair to them, to me, to anybody to say, okay, well, here's our ultimate end goal. If we don't make this happen, then it's a failed season. That's just not fair. The circumstances of this season are so unique and so different that we just have to take this one day at a time. We can't look ahead. We haven't looked ahead. We didn't even start talking about Indiana until Thursday morning after we'd already played Siena. We're not doing that. We're not looking ahead. We're just literally taking it one game at a time.
Do you like